Hello everyone. In this video tutorials, I will explain you a few important things. First of the thing that I would like to explain is how to install Visual Studio Code, one of the free code editor ever. So the first thing I'll do, I'll just go through obviously my browser, and I will search something like this. I'll type download Visual Studio Code on my browser, and once you do that, it will take you straight to this link where you can go and then download your choice of versions of Visual Studio Code. Of course, I'm using Windows, so I'm just going to go with the Windows. If you have different platform, please choose yours. Once I click on Windows, as you can see, I already have downloaded this. This is going to start downloading. There's little arrows next to it. If you can click here and you can go to show folder in Windows, do how it likes for your Mac. And as you can see, I have multiple versions. I already have downloaded it. So one of the things I want to show you, double click on it, start installing it. While you do so, you agree the terms and condition. Next, on this screen, pay a little bit more attention. Just click on every single boxes that you see. Even though this is a create desktop icon, I would like to have one. What this does is adds Visual Studio Code to your path. That means that in a nutshell, you can open Visual Studio project from any folder just by right clicking on the folder and open Visual Studio Code. So these little helpful tools are there for you. So make sure that you tick all of them. Then you press next, and it's going to start installing Visual Studio Code. Now I have already installed it. I'm not going to install it again. Please do follow the procedure just to next, and install it. Once you install it, it's going to install in your desktop. Obviously, I have a small icon here, as you can see. If you do not see this, you can type here Visual Studio Code as you do to search for your other applications. Now that I have a shortcut, I'm going to open it up. Of course, when you open up Visual Studio Code, what it does, actually, it opens up your previous application that you've been working on. Otherwise, it's going to just open a welcome message for you. So you can then obviously you can say, okay, I'm just going to close the folder. So how you see is like this. When you open first, you probably will see a welcome window. Now this welcome window gives you some options such as open new file, or create a new file, open folder, run commands, and all these things. For me, or those who likes to work with all the files together in one window, I would definitely go with file, open folder. I'm not going to choose open workspace or open file. I don't want to open a single file. I want to open entire project. You can also open recent projects. So that's one thing. Or you can just click on open folder here. However, if you do not see open folder or even open folder here, for Windows, just press Control key plus O. O stands for open. So at any moment, if I press Control O, it's gonna bring me up on this small file opening system. And I know where's my project is. I'm just gonna go to XAMPP. I'm gonna say, okay, hasty dogs here. I have a project called Animal Kingdom. I can open it like this. So please don't forget to remember some of the shortcut for Windows is Control O. If you do not see this, or in the menu. For Mac, it would be Command O. So let's go and open our folder. Let's go open our folder, and I'm going to browse where my application lives. Usually for server side, I'm going to keep them in XAMPP htdoc folder. This is my projects, Animal Kingdom. I'm just going to select the folder. Now, when I select the folder, what you see is you see all the files on my left. Now, this is really helpful because you can then navigate to different files. I do not need a welcome window. I'm just going to close it. Now, prior to start anything, I would like you to do is just to have a familiar with a few basic operation of Visual Studio Code. One of the things I would like to do is go to File, and down below you will see Auto Save option ticked. Now, by clicking it, what happens that every time you made any changes on your source code, it gets automatically saved. The file gets automatically saved, so you don't have to worry about saving every time. It's really helpful. So this is one thing, and of course you can go to preference. There are plenty other things you can configure. Some of the things are very quite complex. Some of the things are really simple. One of the things I would like to do is also, let's say I don't like the color theme. You can go to the color theme and use your keyboard's arrow keys, up and down arrow, choose your themes that you like, the color suitable for your vision. You can change the color you like. At the moment, I'm going to keep the default one, which is, I believe, this is dark, this is Visual Studio Dark. I'm just going to keep them the way they are. So this is two things. There are two things I've shown you. A few other important things I'm going to show you is there is some pens out there. This one is called Explorer. Now, if you need more space, this is, you can toggle it. Just click on it once, it's going to toggle up and down. What it does is give you more space to work with. You have another option called search option. Now, this will allow you to find a file or even words that you want to find in your code, and you can also replace them. Very powerful tool, help you to replace. We will come back to a few of these things later on. For example, let me see if I have something called about PHP in my code. It found something. I can just click on it and say, hey, I want to see this, or I want to see this. You can always find things through that way. However, as I said, I'm going to come back to it later on. The third one you can see is called Git repository. Now, if you have a Git account, you can connect your project with the GitHub, which allows you to push your local development to the GitHub. I will probably create another tutorial for that later on. Now I'm going to move on to a few more other important things. This is called run and debug. As I said, this is also requires some setup, so I will go back to it later on. Now, for us to start with, one key area is for extension. Visual Studio Code is free, and community has been making fantastic extension, which helps a lot in terms of you can add color picker. This comes with an extension. You can add coded intelligence, which is a suggestion for the code. One of the things I would like to show you that a few of this extension you would like to install. It's quite a helpful tool. For example, color picker. You can install color picker. You can search any tool here saying, I want a color picker. Color picker. So it's going to show you all the color picker available. So you could try different things. Just you can uninstall it and install it, disable it. So as you can see, I already have installed this color picker. What it does is tells you here. Now take a little moment to also see the description, because each of these extension comes with some sorts of shortcuts, such as Alt plus C and P keys or commands. So it's good to have a look. But if you want to see the quick visual how it works, if you write CSS, you'll see a little box like this. If you hover onto it, or it will give you some sort of color plate, which you can then choose color from. Quite handy while you're developing your code. So stuff like this is very helpful. Just install it if you need it, and it will be available when you start typing in CSS. You may say, I haven't installed it where it is. Of course, when you open a CSS file, let me see if I have some CSS file to show you. So I probably have this, and as you can see, I have installed this. That's why I have this little extra support. Here is a color preview of the color. I can hover into it. I can change color I want. I can pick any color that suits my choice, or how I like to do this. So yeah, some of the tools are very helpful. So I'm gonna undo it. Of course, I'm not gonna use this. We'll close it. So extension, a few other extension could be, one of them is called live server. Okay. Now, live server is a small, nice piece of work they've done. I already have installed it. What it does, again, please read a few of these things. As you can see, you can update your code and immediately it refreshes for you on the browser. Earlier days, obviously, without this, what will you have to do every time you make some changes on these? You have to refresh your browser to see the effect of the changes. And if you have live server running, you can just work in two screens or side by side. You can see the differences. So please, a little bit, spend some time on to read these features. It's quite nice. It tells you how to use each extension. The best way to understand extension and get best out of it is to read this little documentation down below. You could also use a lot more advanced option with it, but at the moment, we're just going to see how it works in real life. In one thing though, live server is only works on static website. That's what I mean by that, the website or pages that had extension called HTML. It will not work in server sites such as PHP or ASP programming languages. In order to let it work with server side like PHP, we have to install different other things. There is a workaround. Maybe some point I'll show you that. Let's try the live server now. So I'm going to go to my file. Now, as you can see, I have all the files of PHP extension. These are not going to work with the live server. In fact, the live server here is just down below. And if I change anything in the PHP, this is not going to work. This is not going to work. So let's go. Let's give it a go. Let's see. Click on live server, and it fires up my application. Now, as you can see, it shows a little bit of IP address. Now, this IP address is the IP address for localhost. So basically, you can write localhost here. It's actually the same thing. The IP address for localhost globally is 127.0.0.1. So that's your server. You can also type localhost. It's just like your domain name. Every domain name has an IP address. People tend to forget about them. They don't remember this such a number. So usually people try to write like, the name, like, your site name, followed by a colon and a default port. Now 5500 is the default port given by this extension. Just leave it that way, it's fine. But you can see my application here. However, I cannot see any of these files that running on the browser. These are PHP files, they're not gonna run. If I click on them, what will happen? It's gonna start downloading it. No, this is not what we want. The reason is that, as I said earlier, this live server only works on HTML pages, not on server side. They cannot process server side. In order to get that done, we'll have to find different ways. Maybe some point I will show you how to do that. Let's go back to our static page then. So I have a static page called contact.html, and I'm already running the server here. So my server is running on the browser, and obviously if I refresh, I see the old one. Now I want to run that particular file. So I can right click on it and I say open with server. That's the file I want to run. Let's fire it up. And as you can see, it is showing a nice message. Let's see if it can update as we do. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to put them side by side in my screen. And see, whatever I'm doing, I'm just going to collapse these things to get a bit more space. Let's say I just want to remove this. Just gonna say, as you can see, as we type, it changes here. Now, this is quite helpful because you don't have to refresh. Earlier days, when we change anything, we have to refresh in order to see the updates. So if I would stop this, let's say if I stop the live server here, and I said, okay, please stop. I stopped it, and now I'm going to make some changes in my contact form, and I will say, let's say I'm just gonna say another H2 maybe. Welcome to opel.com. Now, obviously, I have changed it here. Let's see if it is changed here. No, it didn't. I have to refresh it in order to see. Of course, as you can see, even if I refreshed it, it couldn't find anything there because I just have removed, I just stopped the server. It's not going to work. It's not going to work. So let's say if I want to open it separately, I can go to the folder and double click and run it. This is not how we want. So let's go back here and I can start the server again. And if I change something, and it should be visible right here. This allows you to update as you type or as you change things. For example, you can add so many things here. So let's say I've said H3. Let's try this one. This one actually. H3. Let's say localize this one a little bit. Organize a little bit. I'll say your home to JavaScript tutorial. As soon as you stop typing, you'll see the update coming here. So it's quite handy extension. I hope you can try and practice it. So let's go back to extension again to try a few others. There are things like, for example, there are almost extension for all languages. So because we will be working with PHP, let's see what other extension they may have. So I search for PHP. It says I have something like PHP Debug. And then I have, this is a debugging software. I already have installed it. If you want, you can install it, quite helpful. The most helpful one I found is the PHP IntelliFence, which means this is a small piece of tool that allows you, when you type something, it allows you with the code, automated code, like the built-in functions list of which you don't have to remember from your head. You can just scroll down and choose whatever you like. You can install it. There are plenty of other things you can install it and try them. It's better to install it, try it, and if you like it, keep it. If you don't, you don't. There are a lot of other things to you can read to make it much more nicer environment. For a developer, it is important that you have all these tools in one place, so you can work with a lot of ease. Now let's have a look what IntelliFence does for me as I installed it. So if I go to index page and if I say, hey, this is my PHP area, I'm just gonna call a function PHP info. As you can see, as I keep typing, it's picking up all the built-in functions and their features beautifully from the list. I can just say, okay, I want this one. Very helpful. It also gives you a hint about each of these functions, what kind of parameter that takes as you type. It gives you a nice description of each of them. Very helpful. You can read about all the constant and parameter you can pass through this. So at the moment, I'm just going to keep it like this. And if I run it, I would be able to see a lot of information about PHP. So this IntelliFence helps you. For example, I want to see a function called count. I can see there's a count function which I can use. And as I select it, it tells me what kind of things it takes, parameter it takes. So you can install that. Please revisit the video because it's been recorded, so you can have a look. So okay, so this is good. So far, so good. What else you can see? Now, when you're working with Visual Studio Code, it's good to have some basic command shortcuts known to you, such as Control-C, Control-V, Control-C for copy, Control-X for cut, Control-V for pasting something. Now, these are very common. I would highly recommend to keep them in your memories, so you can save a lot of times. If you're a slow typer like me, for example, you probably would be happy to see that these shortcuts can save a lot of time from you. So what else you can see? Of course, we have seen this extension, and then we have Sql Lite. This is to connect your MySQL server with this editor. Of course, you can do that, but I would not do that for now because I don't want to overburden my lightweight editor like Visual Studio Code with all sorts of connectivity in the background. It might slow down my process, but you can. For now, I'm not going to add anything. What I will do for my database, I'll do a manual connection for them. But if you want, you can. You can add a new connection. You can connect a lot of things. You can also use command prompt in order to use Visual Studio Code. It's called terminal. You can start a terminal here as well. So a lot of things can be done. So we're not going to talk about this one now. Extension, give it a go. See how it goes for you. And let me know. Of course, I have a lot of files here. Now, I want to show you how you navigate through these files while I'm here. If you click on index.php, as you can see, it's coming here, and you can do a lot of things on it. Now, if I click on another file, you'll notice that the previous file has been removed and it's been replaced by header.php. Now, what if I want to keep them here as well? The best thing to do is double click on them rather than single clicking. If you double click, it will be pinned here as well. So I have this, and let's try this one, header.php is pinned. I can now navigate to as many files I want, horizontally or vertically. Let's go to other files. I can just double click on it. It's there. Of course, you can then navigate to any of these files. This is good news. Let's go back to basic few other issues that I want to show you. Now, if you think this screen is too small for you to see your code, what you can do, you can press Control key and then press your plus sign to make it zoom. Every time you press, it's going to be much more, it's going to zoom in. To reverse the effect, you use Control and minus sign. Keep doing it until you see this is what you want. Now, the shortcut for is CTRL along with the plus sign. That's for zoom in. And of course, CTRL minus sign together to zoom out. Quite helpful when you work on a small screen. It could be helpful. So this pretty much very basic of how to use Visual Studio Code. So what we learn is that how to install it. During installation, make sure that you click on those checkboxes, and obviously once you install, explore different things in Visual Studio Code. Now, this is all for me on this video. There are plenty other things, as I said, over the period of time, we will be able to learn those things too.